ओम श्री परमात्मने नमः। अथ त्रयोदशोऽध्यायः। अर्जुन उवाच प्रकृतिं पुरुषं चैव क्षेत्रं क्षेत्रज्ञमेव च एतद्वेदितुमिच्छामि ज्ञानं ज्ञेयं च केशव। श्रीभगवानुवाच इदं शरीरं कौन्तेय क्षेत्रमित्यभिधीयते एतद्यो वेत्ति तं प्राहुः क्षेत्रज्ञ इति तद्विदः। चापि मां वेत्ति सर्वक्षेत्रेषु भारत क्षेत्रज्ञयोर्ज्ञानं यत्तज्ज्ञानं मतं मम तच्चैतं यच्च यादृक् च यद्विकारि यतश्च यत् स च यो यत्प्रभावश्च तत्समासेन मे शृणु। ऋषिभिर्बहुधा गीतं छन्दोभिर्विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्मसूत्रपदैश्चैव हेतुमद्भिर्विनिश्चितैः। भूतान्यहङ्कारः बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च अहं दशैकं च चेन्द्रियगोचराः इच्छा द्वेषः सुखं दुःखं सङ्घातश्चेतना धृतिः एतत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारमुदाहृतम् अमानित्वमदम्भित्वम् अहिंसा क्षान्तिरार्जवम् आचार्योपासनं शौचं स्थैर्यम् आत्मविनिग्रहः इन्द्रियार्थेषु वैराग्यम् अनहङ्कार एव च जन्म मृत्युजरा व्याधि दुःखदोषानुदर्शनम् अशान्तिरनभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वं निष्ठानिष्ठोपपत्तिषु मयि चानन्ययोगेन भक्तिरव्यभिचारिणी विविक्तदेशसेवित्वम् ज्ञाननित्यत्वं तत्त्वज्ञानार्थदर्शनम् एतज्ज्ञानमिति प्रोक्तम् अज्ञानं यदतोऽन्यथा ज्ञेयं यत्तत् प्रवक्ष्यामि यज्ञात्वामृतमश्नुते अनादिमत्परं ब्रह्म न सत्तन्नासदुच्यते सर्वतः पाणिपादं तत् सर्वतोक्षिशिरोमुखं सर्वतः श्रुतिमल्लोके सर्वमावृत्य तिष्ठति सर्वेन्द्रियगुणाभासं सर्वेन्द्रियविवर्जितम् असक्तं सर्वभृच्चैव निर्गुणं गुणभोक्तृ च बहिरन्तश्च भूतानाम् अचरं चरमेव च सूक्ष्मत्वात् तदविज्ञेयं दूरस्थं चान्तिके च तत्. So we are seeing the different pointers of the self in the section of Prakriti and Purusha, right? Different pointers of the self are what are being described, right? In Prakriti and Purush. Where? How many divisions are there in this chapter? 6 divisions are there. 3 divisions. What are they? Order में बोलो. In what order is it there in the chapter? Kshetra, Kshetrajna. Then Jnanam, Gneyam. Then what will come next? Prakriti and Purush. So these pointers of the self are in which one now? In Gneyam, in Purusha, in where? Which section is this right now? What we are doing? Gneyam. He said, na, Gneyam yattat pravakshami, yajñatva amritam ashnute. I am going to tell you that which is to be known. And knowing which one will become immortal. So we are in the Gneyam portion right now, and all those pointers which are given, we saw last time that there is a method in Vedanta called Adhyaropa and Apavada. So deliberate superimposition and then negation. So this Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, Sarvendriya Vivarjitam, in that which is the Adhyaropa and which is the Apavada? Sarvendriya Gunabhasam is Adhyaropa. Apavada is Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. In Nirgunam Gunabhoktracha, which is Adhyaropa and Apavada? Nirguna is Apavada. And Gunabhoktru is the Adhyaropa. Now we saw Bahirantascha Bhutanam, the consciousness is inside, outside, all the beings, same, one truth. In moving as well as non-moving, acharam charam evacha. Sukshmatva tad avigneyam. Because it is very subtle, cannot be known. Sounds so weird, no? Bhagavan said, Gneyam yattat pravakshami. What is to be known is what I will tell you. And what is to be known, finally he says, cannot be known. Avigneyam. What does that mean? It cannot be known through what? Through the senses, the mind, the intellect. Through the senses, the mind and the intellect, it cannot be known. It can be known only through what? Knowledge. What was said earlier, na? Gneyam yattat pravakshami yajñatva amritam ashnute. And yes, intuitively one will know that. When the Mahavakya is heard, mind is prepared from a qualified teacher, then one will realize. So, sukshmatvat, because it is very subtle. One example given for that is, suppose now all of you are facing this side. So what is behind you, you cannot see, because the eyes are, if you have to see what is behind, then you have to turn. Otherwise, what is behind will not be known. So in that way, subtly when we think, what is gross, the senses, the mind, etc. are gross and they are facing outside. The self is as though within. It cannot be known with the senses, the mind. It is not a concept, it is not an emotion. Then how it will be known? Only when we turn the mind within. Meaning turn the attention to the source. Then it will become known. Sukshmatva tadavigneyam. Durastham cha antike chatat. It is far, yet it is nearest. 3 ways I told you. Homework was that. Socha? Batao. How is it far and yet near? Okay, then how is it far? Okay, it is far. So that is one way to understand. Anybody else thought anything else? Like in the dream we think. Okay. Okay. Huh. It is everywhere, so it is far, but because it is me, it is nearest. Okay, so good reflections you have done. Um, some other ways also one can think about it. So in Vedanta we say, what is Brahman? How one indicates Brahman? Three types of limitations are there. What are the three types of limitations? Desha, Kala and Vastu, right? Time, space and object. So space-wise, if we think about it, space-wise meaning element. So which is the grossest element? Earth. Subtler than earth is water. Subtler than water is fire. Then air. Then space. Beyond space is what? Space came from where? Maya. And beyond Maya is Bhagavan. If you say 5 elements, then you can say Mahat Tattva and then Ahankara and then all that, and then come finally to Bhagavan. Or you say Maya, whichever way. So that way we are identified with this body made up of 5 elements, and if we consider that way, and this earth, space, when we say earth, water, fire, air, space, that is also in the subtlety of the subtle tanmatras. This body is made up of the tamasic aspect of the tanmatras after they have gone through panchikarana. So this is the grossest. And then 5 subtle elements. And then Maya, and then Brahman. So that way it is farthest. So Durastham. And yet it is the nearest. Why? Because it pervades all this, including this body. So it is the nearest, yet it is the farthest. Why? Because identified with the body, one has forgotten that this whole thing is enlivened by consciousness. So that is space-wise Durastham cha Antikecha. Time-wise, what is Durastham cha Antikecha? Mind, which is not in the present, will always think that realization will come in future. In time it will happen. Yesterday I was not realized. Tomorrow at some point I may realize. In future I may realize. So time-wise we postpone. Or we push it away, saying ki, and we make it like a product of a process. That if I do 1, 2, 3, 4, then I will realize. Just like how we do in the world, everything we make it into a action and its result. So you do this karma, you get this karma phala. That's why last time we did a little more elaborate discussion on this, saying that Bhagavan says that yad jnatva amritam ashnute, not yat kritva. Not by doing anything, by just knowing. Who am I? If I know properly, then and there will be liberation, immediate. But our mind makes fanciful imaginations about Sakshatkar also. We connect siddhis, powers, if somebody is realized, they can read everybody's mind, they have control over 5 elements, they can manifest what they want, they can bless you with extra life if you want. If they say something, that will just happen. Now we have associated all that with this. Realization has nothing to do with all this actually. It is just to know who I am. And that's why sometimes it may appear very... If you strip away all these glamorous factors, How many really want realization will be a big question. Because even one who wants realization is wanting it not because I really want to know who I am in my true nature. I want it because of all these other factors. So in that sense, that's why makes it a product of a particular process, and that obviously will come in time. So it is duram. So if I am reveling in the past or if I am in the future, then it is durastham. But it is the nearest if I bring my mind fully into the present. Now one thing we should remember, by saying that I bring the mind fully into the present, does not mean only paying attention to what is happening outside. That is one step. How we have, mindful walking, mindful eating, mindful talking, mindful relationships, all that, mindful. Which is to say that from the past and future, I bring the mind, pay attention to what is happening here and now. That is one step to further go within, to be aware of my nature as awareness, as witness, not as the entity who is doing this, not as the jiva, but the sakshi of that jiva. To be in the present means that, to be fully in the now, to be aware of what is happening through the BMI, by the jiva. I am the sakshi, I am the self, I am that consciousness. That is called living in the present. And when we do that, then I am a witness at all times. Even if the mind is wandering, I am the witness of it, so I am here and now only. So in that sense, time-wise, when we come fully into the now, then past, present, future goes. So it is antikechatat, it is the nearest. So space-wise, near, farthest and the nearest we saw. Time-wise, farthest and nearest. Now, object-wise, farthest and nearest means what? As long as I am attached to sense enjoyments, my mind will be extroverted. I am thinking happiness is through this object, that person, this place, that position, that power, then it is farthest. But if I am detached from all that, then it is the nearest. Because there is nothing other than that. Actually, to say nearest also is not correct expression, because it means two things. It is not even the nearest actually, but it is said nearest in the context of, in the contrast of farthest. But otherwise it is my true self, there is no nearest. How far is the waker from the dreamer? We can say nearest to the waker is the dreamer. Or one can say waker only is the dreamer, there is no difference. So that way the self is the farthest and yet it is the nearest. Now this is one way of understanding, but what is the sadhana implication of this? From space-wise, when we think about it, the more I am identified with the BMI, I am farthest. The more I am detached from the BMI, I am nearest. Time-wise, the more I live in the future and the past, I am farthest. The more I come into the now, I am nearest. Object-wise, the more attached I am to the objects, my happiness depends on other things, people, situations, I am farthest. And the closer I am to what my nature as Ananda is, I am the nearest. So those are the implications. So now when one understands this can apply in contemplation, this can apply in the reflection also. If one gets disturbed by something, then one has to come back to this, saying, why am I disturbed? Because of some attachment. What is that attachment? Undo that attachment. Ananda is my Swarupa. So that way, durastham cha antike cha tat. 17th one. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktamiva cha sthitam bhuta bhartru cha tadgneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha See, this earlier one also is to speak about the fact that the self is both immanent as well as transcendent. So when we say bahihi antascha bhutanam, it is inside as well as outside. That is to say about the acharam charamevacha. That first line is about all pervasiveness of the truth. Sukshmatvat tada vigneyam is for the transcendence of the truth. Durastham cha is about all pervasiveness. Antike cha tat is about transcendence. So the truth is that which is both all pervasive, immanent, as well as beyond that which is transcendent. Now here in the 17th one, what does Bhagavan say? Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. In all the different beings, that which is undivided, but appears as divided. Meaning what? Suppose there are 10 buckets of water and there are 10 reflections of the sun which are seen. Now what will I see? When I see 10, they appear divided, no? From each other. Vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. But the truth is what? It is actually one sun only, but it appears divided into 10. But the interesting thing in that analogy is what? In each bucket, it is a full sun which is reflecting. That sun has not become 10 parts to reflect in that, this much part here, this much part there, this much part there. No, no. Reflection is full. Which is why one has to understand that one who says, I am a part of God. You are not a part of God. You are full God only. That Vishishta Advaita will say, I am a part of God. And then the Gita quote also will be supporting that. They will quote, Mamaiva amsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. My amsha is this jiva. So amsha, amshi, bhav. Like the wave is a part of the ocean. But wave is a part of the ocean is a different analogy. It is not like that the jiva is a part of Ishvara. Because if we say that jiva is a modification of Ishvara, jiva is a small part of Ishvara, then Ishvara only becomes perishable. Jiva is not a small part of the Ishvara. Jiva is full Ishvara as it is. Essential nature. Wave is essentially not different from the water. It is same. It is one with the ocean from water standpoint. So in that way, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu, that which is undivided in all the beings, but appears divided. Vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Why does it appear divided? Because of the upadhi, because of the BMI. Like how space is one. Now this divider we have put here. So it appears that this is this hall space, that is that hall space, then there is one office space, then there is one kitchen space. But even when these divisions exist, space actually is only one. Space can't be divided. If space only cannot be divided, then what to talk of the self? Self is so indivisible anyways. So what does this mean? When we see differences, then our attention remains on the BMI, so we see differences. Then that is what makes the attachments, aversions, all that happen. But if I see that no, there is only one truth, there may be 20 waves in the ocean. I can see them as small wave, big wave, and tsunami size wave, and bubble, foam, lather, then I am seeing all differences. But if I see no, all this is only water, then it's only water. And the important point in this is both these standpoints are valid at the same time. Only choice is what is my vision. Do I see wave or do I see water? Do I see the BMI or do I see the self? So avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. Though it is undivided, indivisible, one infinite consciousness, it appears as though it is divided. But it is only an appearance, it is not real. That same example of the reflection of the sun. In one bucket, the water is very crystal clean and clear and steady, so the reflection will be absolutely brilliant. In some other bucket, the water is shaking, so then the reflection also appears to be shaking. Some other bucket, the water is muddy, reflection will appear very dull. Now that is because of the quality of the water. And obviously now based on that quality, when one has to transact, one will transact accordingly. If one wants to drink, then one will not take that muddy water. One will take the water which is clean and clear. So in Vyavahar, there may be a certain level of transactional choices that we have to make. So if one knows that certain animal is a dangerous one will not go. One can't say that, okay, Brahman is everywhere, so one will go to a lion also. No. Because that is a reflection in that Antakarana, and if that animal is a carnivorous animal, dangerous animal, then one has to be alert. So that is Vyavahar. But psychologically, the distinction should not happen. Somebody is a servant, somebody is a driver, somebody is a CEO, somebody is a clerk. They are playing their roles, each one. According to the roles, one will treat, but as basic humanity, all are same. Consciousness in all, same. All are divine, whichever level I connect to. So, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. That which is undivided in all, but appears as divided. Appears as divided meaning also that which is one is appearing as many. Like we say, no, that one ray of light passing through the prism becomes 7. It is actually avibhaktam, 1. Even when it is 1, it is appearing as 7, it is only 1. But because it has passed through that, it appears as 7. So, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. So now in the buddhi, that one infinite consciousness is appearing. You think about this is not only amongst the beings, even in the individuality, the one has become many. Tell me how? That is the roles. So that is one way to understand. Suppose I don't take up those roles and I take up myself as an individual only. Then how has one become many? Different thoughts. Okay, but thinker is one, no? That analogy can apply, no problem. No, I am talking only about oneself. Go a little more deeper into that. No. Of course they are different, there is no doubt, but avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. One ray of consciousness, one, let us say, consciousness reflecting in the BMI, how does it become many? That BMI chart itself is the correct. So perceiver, feeler, thinker, that is one. Perceiver में ही 5 हो जाएगा. Seer, hearer, taster, smeller, toucher, plus another 5. Mover, grasper, speaker, evacuator, reproducer, 10 हो गया ना. 1 has become 10. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. Then you apply to the feeler. With every emotion, one different identity. With every thought, one different. So one consciousness only is enlivening all. But our attention is not on the enlivening factor. Attention is on the perceptions, emotions, thoughts. Then one is seeing only duality. So avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. Now the beauty of this example is also what? Just like the space, tell me what is common in these analogies of the space and the different partitions, of the sun and the water. So reflection of sun in the different buckets. What is one common factor in both these? Connected to this line, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. So that is one that anyway we discussed. It is indivisible. One more. हाँ, so तो हो गया. That the line is only saying avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. So that is done. It is one but appears as different parts. No, but then what is the commonality between both these? I am asking the space and the sun in that example. What is common connected to this line? It's a very simple answer. No. Very easy. The moment we say space, that word should come into our mind immediate. The moment space is said, itself it should come. Boundaries, no. No. All space is all pervading, no doubt, but sun is not all pervading, so commonality nahi hai. Unaffected. Easiest. Space is unaffected. The moment we say space, all pervasive should come to the mind and unaffected should come to the mind. It doesn't get affected by anything. That reflection also doesn't get affected by anything. Matlab that sun. Whatever is the quality of that water or the reflection, nothing happens to the sun. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam eva cha sthitam. That white ray of light also the same point will apply. That white ray of light passing through the prism, one light appears as 7, but nothing happens to that one light. It is as it is. It only appearing as 7. So even though there is a division, it is still one only, and it is not affected. Now this one can apply in one sadhana also. I am that consciousness which has become the perceiver through the eyes, feeler through the mind, thinker through the intellect, but I am unaffected. Nothing happens to me. But that is what doesn't happen to us. We have forgotten that I am that unaffected consciousness. I have become the perceiver, feeler and thinker, and now I am affected. Chota things will affect now. Somebody said something, affected. Somebody didn't say something, affected. Everything, little things will affect now. But if I understand avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam, it appears as divided. It is not. So you can apply this individually, you can apply this in the world also. If, just think about it, if the universe, people come to understand that we all are one, the differences are only apparent, how much unnecessary violence and killing and what all is going on in the world? So many things will just transform, and one will realize and put the efforts for so many better things. Anyway, so that is avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva. Iva is an important word in this. Appears as though divided. It is not really divided. Vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. Bhuta bhartru cha tadneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Know that to be knowable, or that which is worth knowing. Gneyam. What? That self which is in us, which is appearing as many, but which is undivided and same in all, is the very self which is Ishvara. Why? Because it is Prabhavishnu, Bhuta Bhartru and Grasishnu. Prabhavishnu means the creator. Bhuta Bhartru means the sustainer. And Grasishnu means the destroyer. So that self in me is that very consciousness which is the creator, sustainer and destroyer. Bhuta bhartru cha tadneyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Now interesting one point, tell me. This grasishnu, prabhavishnu and bhuta bhartru refers to Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, right? So Brahmaji represents which guna? Brahmaji represents which guna? Vishnu Bhagwan is which guna and Shivji is which guna? Shivji is Rajas. अच्छा, फिर ब्रह्मा जी? ब्रह्मा जी रजस, तो विष्णु भगवान? तीनों ही रजस है। हाँ, मतलब फिर दो गुण का तो कोई काम ही नहीं हुआ फिर। शिवजी तमस, डिस्ट्रॉयर। विष्णु भगवान इज रजस एंड ब्रह्मा जी इज sattva. Yeah, as Ishvara, the guna, Ishvara will come under guna, no? Because as the function of creation, sustenance and destruction is a part of duality. When we say Bhagavan is transcendent, then the creation question doesn't arise. There is no duality in that. And even when he has become the creator, sustainer and destroyer, by itself he is unaffected. That's what the first line says. Na? Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam ivacha sthitam. He is unaffected. The waker lying unaffected. Now but the waker has taken the identity of the dream creator. Now he is a dream creator, dream sustainer and dream destroyer. But as a waker, unaffected. So batao, Brahma ji is what guna finally? Tamas, वाह, ब्रह्मा जी तमस में भी आ गए. And then Vishnu ji sustaining is tamas. Tamas will sustain. वो तो गुरुदेव ने लिखा होगा कमेंट्री में. हाँ, इसमें नहीं है. जनरली अदरवाइज पीपल विल से सत्व रजस तमस एक लाइन में आते हैं तो ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश डाल दो उनको. ब्रह्मा जी सत्व गुना, टू क्रिएट वी नीड नॉलेज एंड सो ही मैरिज टू सरस्वती देवी, सो ही सत्व गुना. Lakshmi Devi and Vishnu Bhagwan, Lakshmi Devi is wealth and resources and married to Vishnu Bhagwan to sustain Rajoguna, and Shivji is the destroyer, Tamoguna. Which is also correct in one way. There is nothing wrong in this pattern. If you read Self-Unfoldment, there Gurudev will say this, in that Rise and Fall of Man chapter, no, it will come there. This Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and then why they are married to these respective deities, and there he will say. And elsewhere you will see it will be said that Vishnu Bhagwan is Sattva Guna, Brahmaji creates because of the Rajoguna, and then Shivji destroys because of Tamoguna. Both these versions are there and both are right, but we have to understand from what standpoint what is being said. So this last line is indicating that, second line, Bhuta Bharjita Tadnyayam. That which is to be known is what? I don't have to know God separately. I don't have to know myself separately. What do I have to know? The self in me is that God. That's what these shlokas are saying. All these are showing that only. Because many times people think myself I will come to know. What is myself? There is nothing called myself. There is only one self. So there is no my moksha and your moksha. There is only one state of freedom, which is consciousness. That's it. And so all this what we are seeing is appearance of that one truth only. Who is appearing as, when it is said, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam ivacha sthitam. That which is undivided in all the beings is the only one consciousness. So Bhagavan only appears as all this. That is not different in anyone. But our personality wise, we are different from each other. But what is common in all? One consciousness. And what is that consciousness? That is the source of the whole creation. So who created the world? If somebody asks, one may say, okay, God created the world. If I am identified with the jiva, But Vedanta says what? I only created the world. Where that I is not this body, mind, intellect. Where the I is this Grasishnu Prabha Vishnu cha. Bhuta Bhatra Grasishnu Prabha Vishnu cha. So these are various beautiful pointers to know. In all this you see in this verse number 16, Gneyam word is there. 17, Gneyam word is there. 18 also it will come, Gneyam. All this is to be known. Meaning, if I have come in the human form on this earth, I have to know this. If I don't know this, I may know everything else. Still I have not known what is supposed to be known. Meaning the purpose has not got fulfilled. So one will have to keep coming back. But this if I know, other things even if I don't know doesn't matter. But our priority goes first for other things. Then time bacha to ye. Bhagwan is thinking, what are these people doing? It has to be the other way. First one has to know this. Yajñātva amritam ashnute. Rest of it will keep coming. And how does it matter if I don't know some things in the world? But it really matters if I don't know the self. Because if I know the self, I will realize suddenly that my nature is fulfillment. But if I don't know that, I keep going round, round, round in the cycle of birth and death. Self only is not known. So that's why the word Gneyam keeps on coming. Which also means what? That all our education, as much as one can, or whatever ways one can, whether it is children, teenagers, youth, at whichever age one can, the earlier one introduces them to this. This is to be known. That is what Bharat's core competency is. You think about it, how many parents as, educated, enlightened, seekers, they have been able to encourage their young ones to pursue this, knowing which nothing more remains to be known. They did not have the fear in their mind, if he comes to know this, then he or she will become detached. They will not take care of me. What will happen to my future security? Nothing. They send them, go, study, know this. That's why Shvetaketu's father asks him, Uddalak Rishi asks him, when he is coming back, when he comes back from the Gurukul, he asks him, have you known that, knowing which everything becomes known? And that teacher, he says, my teacher does not know, may not know, so he didn't teach me. What is that vision that the father also is having? That boy could have answered that if I am supposed to know that, you should have told me, go find out that and come. You also didn't tell me. Teacher also did not know. No. That is what you are supposed to know. Knowing which everything else becomes known. Dhruva was there. He was sent young. Prahlad, he came to know. Nachiketa, he went to meet Yamraj. Satyakam, he had the desire to know the truth, and the teacher sent him, go. Like that, so many examples of young people who have come to know of this truth fast. And is it not good that one should live as a Jivan Mukta, no, having come here? Why will one live like a Jiva? And for how long will one live like a Jiva? And think that, okay, at the time, just before dying, I will come to know. अरे जीवन मुक्ति का आनंद नहीं लोगे क्या? छोटी छोटी चीज में we do this or not? Why do people eat sweet at the end? Because उनके दिमाग का भ्रम होता है कि the taste will last long. कुछ नहीं, खत्म हो जाता है. You swallow it below and 2-3 times you swallow saliva, gone. सिर्फ दिमाग में रहता कि oh, it is still lingering. What is lingering? He is already finished. But they want not to relish that experience. We go abroad and come and some vacation and this and that and photos, and then we say, ah. Then we relive that and make some reel out of it, and then again and again see why you want to relive that. क्षणिक आनंद को we want to relish and enjoy and elongate and experience it more long. अरे जीवन मुक्ति का नहीं. To live here as a free जीवन मुक्ता, what a joy it is or not. One should have that goal, na, कि I want to realize fast and rest of the prarabdha, this body will go through, जाने दो इसको. I will live in the anand of जीवन मुक्ति. Otherwise the mind is running behind some विषयानंद and अरे कब प्राप्त होगा जीवन मुक्ति पता नहीं, मरने से पहले थोड़ा मिल जाए तो बहुत है. It's not like some अमृत का बूंद को जो मिल जाएगा हमको and then now I am मुक्त. I have to think about it myself कि who am I? Am I really this? I am not this. That's why if one keeps that goal in the mind, कि I want to get mukti fastest and then live as a Jivan Mukta. And I am not saying that by myself from my head. Shankaracharya ji gives that in the Sadhana Panchakam. Last instruction of Shankaracharya ji is that Atha para brahmatmana sthiyatam. Live like Brahman. We came like deluded Brahmit Jiva. We have to live like Brahman. Then job is done. Khatam ho gaya kaam. Otherwise, to what Kabir Das ji said, na? चलती चक्की देख के दिया कबीरा रोए, दो पाटन के बीच में साबुत बचा न कोई. But interesting analogy in that also is जो बीच में पहुंच जाता है उसका वो नहीं पिसेगा. Who goes to the core na will not get smashed. Everybody else in raga and dvesha one will get smashed like anything. Yoga and kshema, raga and dvesha, ahamta, mamata, whatever you call that two stones, na. If one gets out of that, goes to the core. That is this. Then one lives Vilakshan Anand of Jivan Mukti. And look at so many saints. This country, though we don't have a dearth of them, Jivan Muktas. You know, Akhandanandji's one book is there. Two books are there. One book is Jivan Mukta Sant. This much small book. Itna hi hai wo. So many Jivan Muktas, the examples are there in that, who all are, and we won't even know some of their names, but Mahatmas. Like that one should read Shivanand ji ka Lives of Saints, another book. So many saints ka lives he has written in that. Akhandanandji's another book is called Pavan Prasang. In that there are so many nice anecdotes with different Mahatmas. Now when we read all this, then one gets inspired saying, I want to be like this. Otherwise, what is the literature one is reading? Some gossip magazine, some page 3, something, it keeps coming. And one goes on reading who did what with whom. Arey kya farak padta hai, who did what with whom? Read the life of these Jivan Muktas. How did they live? And it is not that they have not gone through ups and downs. They have also gone through. But they realized. And how many different Jivan Muktas through different ways they have gone through different sadhanas and they came to realize. So that will give. So now coming to this. Bhuta bharti cha tadnyam grasishnu prabha vishnu cha. Now 18th one. Jyotishamapi tadjyotihi tamasa paramuchyate jnanam gneyam jnanagamyam Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. Such a nice verse this is. Jyotisham api tad jyotihi. It is the light of all lights. Beyond all darkness. Tamasa paramuchyate. It is jnanam, knowledge. Gneyam, what is to be known. And what is to be reached through the jnanam. Jnanagamyam. And where is it? Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam, in the hearts of all. How many times it comes in this Gita, this type of expressions go on coming. Like even earlier what was said, no? that avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam. In all the beings, that which is undivided but which is appearing divided. Same way the next one also, here again he is saying, Hridi sarvasya vishtitam. Our Shastras give us the vision of oneness, no division. It will tell you divisions for the functional understanding and to connect and relate appropriately. Beyond that, no relevance of any divisions. Gender division, no relevance. Caste, community, creed division, no relevance. Nationality division, no relevance. Only functionally they have a relevance. Beyond that, they don't have any relevance. Because we have to see oneness in all. That is the idea of the Vedantic vision. So here he says, Jyotisham api tad jyotihi. So what does this mean? The light of all lights. So the sense objects are perceived because of the light of the senses. Each of them are illumining for us. The eyes are illumining the form. The ears are illumining the sound. Nose is illumining the smell. Tongue is illumining the taste. Skin is illumining the touch. Each of these are illumining. Then only we come to know, if the eyes are not functioning, can the ears see? They cannot. Each of the senses, they can do their job. Yes, in the absence of one sense, the other can become sharper, but it cannot replace that. So the senses are a light, because of which the sense objects get illumined. What makes that senses function? Which if it is not there, the senses will not function. वो तो ultimate answer है. Knowledge beyond, before that also. Mind. If the mind is not backing the senses, the recognition only will not happen. And when the mind is dormant, then senses won't function only. So the eyes, ears, nose. Nose, one says, okay, the breathing goes on because that's a automatic system that is happening, but consciously it is not happening. The mind is backing the senses. So the sense objects are illumined by the sense organs. Sense organs are illumined by the mind. Only when the mind is behind it, then we can experience. Many times that happens. Now we are sitting physically, but our mind is wandering. So one has heard, but one has not grasped. Sometimes one is lost in thought, one is walking on the road and going, and somebody one knows comes from the opposite side, but one doesn't recognize only. And that person feels, that person didn't see me also. But he may be thinking something and walking, who knows? That person is not perceiving properly right now. He's just seeing and walking. But the recognition is not happening. Why? Because the mind is not backing the senses. Mind is somewhere else. So, illumination of the objects is done by senses. Illumination of senses is done by mind. Illumination of mind is done by intellect. Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam is Manaha and the Nischayatmika is Buddhi. Intellect is illumined by what? Ego, Ahankar. Till that Mr. I is not there, intellect also doesn't function. Ego is illumined by what? How by mind? Mind is illumined by ego. Maya, consciousness now. Ego is finally illumined by the self in us, which is consciousness. So, Jyotisham api tad jyotihi means what? That light in whose ultimate light all these are functioning. They don't have their independent light. Senses by themselves cannot see. In that logic of spirituality, Gurudev says, if senses could see by themselves, then you will keep an eye in the office. Why? To keep an eye on the husband. But that will not work by itself. The eye is functioning because of the mind. Each of them, they can't function by themselves. They need the they depend on the other illuminer. What is that ultimate illumining factor which doesn't need anything else to illumine? That is the definition of consciousness. Swayam bhati anyan bhasayati anyan bhasayet sadhanam vina. That is called consciousness. That which is self-illumining and which illumines others without any medium, that is called consciousness. So if I want to know what is consciousness, why is it that when we say Jyotisham api tat jyotihi, then we are referring to consciousness? Why can't it be that senses are illumining? Or why can't you say if senses is the jyoti, the light of the senses is the mind, so it is referring to mind. Jyotisham api tat jyoti, it is the light of all lights. So all lights are senses. What is illumining the senses? Mind. So the Jyotisham api tat jyoti refers to mind. No, it doesn't refer to that. Why? Because mind doesn't have its own independent capability to know. It borrows it from buddhi. Buddhi gets it from ahankar. Ahankar gets it from consciousness. Consciousness gets from where? Nowhere. It is self-illumining. If consciousness gets it from some other consciousness, then both consciousness become objects, finite, destructible. Both become inert. Then there is no point. So ultimate consciousness is only one, infinite, and that is self-illumining, which is why Jyotisham api tat jyoti. It is that light which is the light of all lights. Jyotisham, plural is given, no? Jyotisham is plural and then Jyotihi is singular. It is the light of all lights. All lights means what? The physical light, then the sense object, then the senses, then the mind, then the intellect, then the ego. All these lights. Why are we calling them light? Because they are illumining. Now, see, the word play is very terrific. When we get trapped with the play of the word, one has to go beyond that word play. Because the moment we say illumine, the illumining word meaning what? We think only of some light. So torch light dalo, now in that light you can see, or tube light, in that light I can see this, which is applicable for the external objects. But mind illumining the senses means what? Koi torch to nahi dal raha mind. Mind is not putting some torch on the eyes, on the ears, on the nose. Okay, now you see, in this light you see. Here there is a physical light externally. So the sense is able to see. What is the meaning of mind illumining the senses? Intellect illumining the mind? There is no such light, there is no torch, there is nothing. It means awareness. In the presence of the mind, the senses are able to function. Illumining means being aware, that's all. Illumining is not how we think of illumining in the external world, because that is a limited thing. In the external world, yes, the eyes will require a certain light, then only I can see. In darkness, I can't see. But the senses are illumining, senses are illumined by the mind. Means what? A thought arises in the mind of that sense perception, which I become aware of. So this glass is here. So it appears that the glass is outside here. In reference to the body, this is inside, within the skin, and this is outside. So we say glass is outside. But how did I become aware of the glass outside? Through the eyes, the image of it is formed in the mind. Now the mind has become aware of it. If the mind was not behind it, the image won't form only. Even if the image forms, recognition only will not be there. So, the mind illumining the senses, meaning the mind is able to make the senses function, and then the eyes are able to go. So that one can give some physical description of it, saying that some signal from the brain goes into the eye, and then the eye opens, and then it's able to see, and then one, whatever you call that, what is that called? Inverted image will form, and then I become aware of it. So that's a physical process, I can tell. But then mind illumining the senses, meaning that thought will arise. Then the buddhi will become aware of it, saying that this is called as a glass, this is not a plate, this is plate, this is glass. Now that buddhi has applied its knowledge. And I, the individual, I am having the thought that now I have seen a glass, I have seen the plate. That is the ahankar. All of this is happening how? Because of awareness in me. This whole process otherwise is automated, is what one thinks. It is happening by itself, meaning buddhi has its own power, mind has its own power, senses have their own power, and then I am able to see in the external light. But none of them have their own power. They all derive the power from consciousness. How do we know that? Because that consciousness I am aware of even when none of these are functioning in deep sleep. That's why it is tamasa param uchyate. It is beyond all darkness of ignorance. So I don't know is a thought in the buddhi. I don't know can be a thought in the mind. I don't know can be experienced even at the sensory level. But consciousness is that which illumines also that I don't know. So it is beyond tamas, being beyond ignorance. Ignorance and knowledge, they arise in the buddhi when the buddhi is active. When the buddhi is dormant, then I don't know anything in the dream state, in the deep sleep state. But I am aware that at that point, obviously in deep sleep I am not aware. That's the limitation of that example and that state. But when I wake up, I become aware that I didn't know anything. I slept like a log. So who is that who knows the absence of everything, including the buddhi, including the mind, including the senses? That entity doesn't depend on any of this. Which is why deep sleep state is very, very important in Vedanta. If deep sleep we don't know, many things we will not be able to pinpoint. Oh, this is the nature of the self, or I am that which is beyond this individuality. I am not the BMI, the senses. Is because of the deep sleep. So Jyotisham api tad jyoti. It is the light of all lights. And it is beyond ignorance. Tamasa paramuchyate. So one meaning of tamas is darkness. But here another meaning of tamas is ignorance of the self. So who says that I don't know the self? I am ignorant is the subtlest obstacle on the path of realization. Why? Because who says that I am ignorant? That entity who is saying that I am ignorant is illumined by the very consciousness. Without that awareness, without me being that, I will not even know that. I am ignorant, I gain the knowledge is the perception of the buddhi, or is the thought in the buddhi. As long as buddhi is there, one is having that thought. In deep sleep, that thought is not there. In samadhi also, that thought is not there. So, tamasa paramuchyate meaning it is that which is beyond all darkness of external darkness as well as the internal darkness of ignorance that I don't know. Meaning it is always of the nature of awareness only. Meaning for the sun there is no darkness. Like that for the self there is no ignorance at all. So that's why if somebody says ki in time I am going to become realized, that only is the obstacle. That's why it has become durastham. In time you will never realize the truth. So if one thinks that one day I will realize the truth, that day will never come. Because truth is here and now, and that is my nature, I have to only recognize it now. If I am not recognizing it now, that's whatever are the mala, vikshepa, avarana, that's why I am not recognizing it, but otherwise it is here and now. So, tamasa paramuchyate means that it is here and now. And so there is nowhere to go, there is nothing to become. It is to recognize me as I am here and now. That is Vedanta, that is knowledge. And so he says Jnanam. Now these three words we have to remember. Jnanam indicates all those values what Bhagavan spoke. That represents in this context the preparation. In some other context, Jnanam can mean Atma Gyan. In this context of 13th chapter, the word Jnanam in this shloka means what? All those values. Jnanam. And connect it to Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. All the three words connect to Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. Where are all those values? Already in our heart. No, Swamiji, I am very proud. Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, Ahimsak, Shanti, Arjavam was said, but I am very himsatmak, This ahimsa doesn't work for me. I am very proud. This amanitvam doesn't work. Adhyatma jnana nityatvam to doesn't happen only. Constantly reflecting about the nature of the self. Now and then I reflect. Thursday I take the Gita book and come to the class. I open in the class. I close it also in the class only. And then I deposit it safely back. Then again I come back and again I open. So Adhyatma Jnana Nityatvam is limited to that. But Bhagavan is saying ki Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. This Jnanam is in the hearts of all. It is actually there, which is our nature only. Which is why we feel sorrowful when we are out of it. All those 20 values, when we don't follow those, that's why one feels miserable. Why? Because one has gone out of one's nature. If one is humble, one is fearless, one is straightforward, one is loving, all that, then one is happy in that. No, Swamiji, the world doesn't take care of such people, the world exploits those people. That is all our confusion in our head. The same world these Mahatmas have also lived, no? They cultivated all these qualities, Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, Ahimsak, Shanti, Arjavam, Acharyopasanam, everything they cultivated, they realized the truth also. Same world. And not that they became dull and dumb and people took the advantage of theirs. No. Sattva guna they had. So this is there in our heart. Jnanam Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. Not only in our heart, it is there in the hearts of others also. Which means what? When we write off some people, you are a gone case. तेरे से तो कुछ नहीं होगा. इतना dull है, dumb है. Then we are undermining them. Because in their heart, see, Gneyam and Jnanagamyam I am not even coming to yet. Jnanam itself, Bhagavan says, Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. It is in the hearts of all. Just that they don't know, or they have not been aware of it. Or they have allowed the circumstances and the people and the upbringing to overwhelm them, and so then they have got carried away by it. And which is why the difference between an ordinary person and a teacher is the teacher will always see only possibilities and the potential. This is what this person is capable of. Other person goes on seeing problems. You have this problem, you have that problem, how will you do this, how will you do that? You see possibilities and you see the potential because it's there in all. Just that one has to know how to tap it and how to tune it, that's all. This Subhashita, very nice Subhashita it is. Amantram aksharam nasti, nasti moolam anaushadham, ayogya purusho nasti, yojakas tatra durlabhaha. There is not a single alphabet which cannot be used in a mantra. Amantram aksharam nasti. Nasti moolam anaushadham. There is not a single root that cannot be utilized as a medicine. Ayogya purusho nasti. There is nobody who is incapable. Then what is the problem? Yojakas tatra durlabhaha. The person who is able to unite you with your potential, that type of a leader is rare to find. Who can use the mantra, who can use an alphabet, make it into mantra, who can use the root, make it into a medicine, that doctor, that type of a rishi, and that type of a leader, those are rare. Yojakas tatra durlabha. So, Jnanam sarvasya hridi vishtitam. Now, what is the sadhana application of this now? If I say, I have to become one day fearless. Swamiji, छोटी-छोटी चीज़ में मुझे डर लगता है. One day I will become fearless. No. What do I have to say? I am fearless. Fearlessness is my nature. This is said here in Sanskrit language. Now the psychologists and other people are today motivational speakers telling that to us in their language. कि the mind doesn't understand the future. Neurology, they will say, the brain doesn't know the difference between inside and outside, and what you actually visualize, that you will realize. So if you say, I am fearless, I am fearless, I am fearless, you will become fearless. Don't say to the mind what not to do. Tell the mind what to do. So don't say, I can't be fearless, I can. You say, I am fearless, and you will become fearless. What a great discovery. और इसको इतना बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलेंगे ना, और ऐसा जोर से, मतलब लगेगा कि हाँ अच्छा मैं बन जाता हूँ fearless. That motivational speaker इतना एनर्जी से बोलते हैं ना, ऐसे ऐसे ऐसे, हमको लगता है कि कुछ कर ले भाई अभी, चलो उठ के. 5-7 मिनट के इसमें ही हमको ऐसा लग जाता है. They run that for an hour, 1.5 hour, ऐसे ही चलता है, and everybody sitting and watching like that. मुझे कभी लगता है कि इसको बोलो कि भाई जरा शांत हो जाए, जस्ट काम डाउन अ लिटिल बिट, एंड वही चीज़ आसानी से बोल लो भाई. और नहीं, उनको भी इतना जोश से बोलना है, वो सुनने वाले को भी उसे जोश से सुनना है, और फिर घर जाके बोलते हैं अरे वाह क्या बात हुआ उनका, अरे व्हाट अ सेशन इट वाज, एकदम चार्ज हो गए एकदम. I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of it, to ridicule them, but I'm just saying कि there are all types of people, they require all types of motivation, but I'm saying is same thing Bhagavan has said to Arjun in the Gita. He's saying Jnanam sarvasya vishtitam hridi is there in the hearts of all. This if you see now like this, if you bring out commonalities, in 16th chapter Bhagavan will tell Arjun that Ma shucha sampadam daivim abhijatosi pandava. That after giving all the daivi sampada, he says you don't grieve Arjun, you already are born with all these. Abhijatosi means you are born. Abhijatosi Pandava. You already have all this. Amanit, Abhayam, Sattva, Samshuddhi, Jnana, Yoga, Vyavasthiti, all that. Here he is saying, Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. If it is already there, then why I am not experiencing? I have created obstacles. You remove that obstacle, that's all. By living exactly opposite, because of one reason only, which is attachment. Every single value is there in my heart, but I am not experiencing it. Why? Because I am attached to some enjoyment, some comfort, some laziness, something I am attached to, gone. Ego, then it is not manifesting. So, Jnanam Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. Gneyam also Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. All this which was said about Gneyam, no, which is the self, is already there in our heart. It doesn't have to be produced. So, I don't have to become the self, I am the self. Aham Brahmasmi is not future. Aham Brahmasmi is to say, right now I am Brahman. Tattvamasi is not ki in future you will become that. Tattvam asi means what? You are that already. I am Atma Brahma. This Atma is Brahman. Which is the fourth one? Wow. Enlightened audience we have today. Prajnanam Brahma, fourth one. Is all those words are in what tense? Present tense. It is not saying ki tattvam bhavishyati. Tattvam asi, you are. Just recognize it now, you are that. Bas. So, jnanam hridi sarvasya vishtitam. Gneyam also hridi sarvasya vishtitam. And now he says jnana gamyam. Suppose one says, ki, okay, what is the use of following all these values what were given? Then this gneyam, no? This jnanam and gneyam, what is said? By following this jnanam, one will attain the gneyam. So whatever is to be attained through this knowledge, jnana gamyam, which is the gneyam, that is also there in our heart only. So all is there in our heart. When one knows that, then one is free. Now this concludes this one section. Meaning 2 sections are concluded. So I will take that one verse and stop because that will conclude this. Iti kshetram tatha jnanam gneyam choktam samasataha madbhakta etad vijnaya madbhavayopapadyate. Iti word means thus. So it is summarizing, concluding this portion. Iti, thus, What Bhagavan has told so far? Kshetram, Jnanam and Gneyam. One word is missing na, in this. Kshetrajna is missing. But it is not said here because that Kshetrajna and that Gneyam is same. Not Jnanam. In this context, Gneyam and Kshetrajna are the same. Jnanam is the values. So, by saying Gneyam, already that Kshetrajna is included in that, though the word may not be there. And also by saying Kshetram, Kshetrajna is included in that. Why? Because without the presence of Kshetrajna, Kshetra will not be known only. Who knows that Kshetram? Kshetrajna only will know. So, he says, I have told you Kshetram, which includes Kshetrajnam, and then Jnanam and Gneyam, Uktam Samasataha. In brief. Now what will happen? Madbhakta etad vijnaya. My devotee, having known this, madbhavaya upapadyate, will become one with me. Enters into my being, meaning will realize oneness with me. So now 2 sections of the 13th chapter are over. Now the last section is remaining, that is Prakriti and Purusha. That we will take up in our next class. My suggestion to you is, please read this Prakriti and Purusha section and come, because confusion hoga nahi to. So it is good if you read and come the specific verses, number 20, 21, 22, at least those 3 minimum. Up to 24 if you can read and come. I don't know how much I will take in that class, but 24 tak padho. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 5 verses. Okay, so we will thank all our Yajmans. The Mukhya Yajmans for all the sessions, Tarana ji, Parag Wag, Vandana ji, Bharat ji, Kalpana ji, Deepika ji. And the Aarti Yajmans for all sessions, Hemant ji, Jyotsna ji, Chitra ji, Ajay Kasotia ji, Rajan ji, Ajay Merchant ji, Swati ji, Nalini ji, Jayashri ji, Nandita ji, Vaishali ji, Vijaya ji, Deepti ji and Manjari ji. Vaishali ji, Deepti ji, aap aa jao. And today's Aarti Yajman, today's Dainik Yajman, Deepal ji, aap bhi aa jao. Wonderful. Today's Dainik Yajman, Pallavi Jagya ji also, and today's Aarti Yajman is Sudha Bindu ji. So we invoke Bhagavan's grace and Gurudev's blessings on all the Yajmans, their families, and everyone present here. May Bhagavan bless us to realize Jnanam, Gneyam and Jnanagamyam in our heart. May we realize the truth, fulfill our human life, and enjoy the bliss of Jivan Mukti for whatever time the body has to live after that. Jai Shri Krishna. Om Tat Sat.
Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Maya Jaya Bhagavad Gita Hariya Kamala Viharini Sundara Supunite Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Karma Sumarma Prakashini Kama Shakti Hara Tattva Jnana Vikasini Vidya Brahma Para Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Nischala Bhakti Vidhaini Nirmala Malahari Sharana Rahasya Pradaini Sabhavidhi Sukhakari Om Jaya Bhagavad Gita Raga Dvesha Vidarini Karini Moda Sada भवभयहारिणि तारिणि परमानन्दप्रदा। ॐ जय भगवद्गीते। आसुरभावविनाशिनि नाशिनि तमरजनी दैवी सद्गुणदायिनि हरिरसिका सजनी। ॐ जय भगवद्गीते। समता त्याग सिखावनी हरिमुख की बानी सकल शास्त्र की स्वामिनी श्रुतियों की रानी। ॐ जय भगवद्गीते। दया सुधा बरसावन मातु कृपा की जय। हरिपद प्रेम दान कर अपनों कर लीजे। ॐ जय भगवद्गीते। बोलिए गीता मैया की जय। न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकं नेमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वं तस्य भासा सर्व इदं विभाति। बोलिए गीता मैया की जय। श्री कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। ओम
पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।